So, hello, my friend again.
Hi, friend.
Um, so you and I have had this talk
Yeah,
plenty of times, sadly. Um, I'm sorry that you're here, but thank you for being open to talk about your journey.
of course. Thank you for having this channel. It's
Thank
important.
you. Um, so if you want to start off by talking about when your journey started and, a little bit about the person if you want to speak about them.
Sure, absolutely. So, back in August of this year, so about 4 months ago, my family, meaning my brother, sister-in-law, and their four boys at the time, were abroad visiting my sister-in-law's family. And as is very common overseas in the summer, they had had their room fumigated for insects and things like that, which is a very common thing to do. And unfortunately, my third nephew at the time ingested some toxins from that and unfortunately passed away. He was 3 years old. And he leaves behind, in addition to his parents, three brothers. And so that is when my journey started.
And I guess I know we've talked about this, but how has how has your life changed
Hmm.
since your journey started?
Great question. So, outwardly, at this point, I'm speaking from today, outwardly, not so much in the day to day, in the sense of going to work, doing the job, going to work out. So outwardly in those ways, not so much, but it's more internally. And I don't even know that I would say it's that I've changed. I feel like things have been revealed.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we have always been these people. It's just that things have been shaken up in such a way that whatever narrative of our lives we had created have been revealed to us differently now. And there's no way to look at that narrative the same way. And there's no way to the characters or the players in our lives are just not going to have the same relationship with us, and we're not the same in the sense of, because the perspective has been shifted,
Mm-hmm.
or revealed to us. But other than that, as far as what's changed, I think my perspective on what's important, and I know that sounds very cliche, but it's almost like going through day to day with such gratitude. I'm trying to be very grateful. And I think I've always been that way, but especially now with a different lens. Um, and trying to make sense, though, at the same time, trying to make sense of the why. And because it happened, what does that mean I should be doing in my life to make it, kind of like he's always with me, and it's always like, what can I do in my life to make it clear that he's still present through me?
Right.
So just that thought process day to day, I think, is there. But
Right.
certainly my perspective has shifted, and realizing that it's kind of like when you're in high school. Like if you talk to high school kids now and they're talking about like things that now that you're out of high school, like, kid, this is not going to matter. Like
Yeah.
when you're in this phase, I almost feel you and I have unfortunately entered this kind of, gone through this rite of passage, which is not a positive or a happy rite of passage. And you're looking around at people and you're like, guys, that's not important. Like
Yeah.
but you also realize that they just have to go through things at their own time, and it's what's meant for them. But that's how I feel. I feel like we've gone through a rite of passage, a very, very difficult one. And you want to look at those around you that have, identified certain things as successful or what matters. And you're just like, no, like none of that is what should be important or
Yeah.
what you're chasing.
Completely agree. Um, I know this journey for both of us has shown us the best in people,
Mm,
worst in people.
mm, yes.
Um, is there anything specific that someone has said to you that you're like, oh my God, I can't believe you just said that to me? Or, wow, that is something that I would like to pass on to someone who is going through this?
Love your questions. I don't know that it's anything anyone can say. I think it's what people have done. I think actions speak louder than words, and that's very
100%.
cliche again, but just very true. So I've had phenomenal support from family, from friends. I've also had some folks who chose to step away and, you know, walk away from me at this time. And if you had asked me this question a few weeks or months ago, I probably would have reacted a little bit differently. But I think I can say right now that to each their own, and that's their journey and I'm on mine, and I'd rather focus on those who have stepped up,
Mhm.
and I'd rather focus on those who have really just come out of the woodwork, in the sense of people who I was not in touch with and had lost touch with, but have really shown up regularly. And even if it's just sending a funny meme or sending like, hey, let's get together, and it's not a lot of people, it's like a core few people. So it's not so much what anyone has said, but just by sending a text or showing up or being physically present. I
Mhm.
think that is what has really resonated with me. And also, I'm not there yet, but I can see myself getting to a place of appreciating those who have also walked away, because I realize um, it takes a real maturity and a real strength to stand with someone at this type of a at time. So
Right.
rather know who those folks are.
Completely agree. And I know, sadly our situations occurred within a week of each other.
I know.
A week of each other. So it like we were always cool, but this definitely,
Bonded us.
yes. We
Yes.
have a bond that, you know, you know what I'm saying without me even saying anything.
Likewise, exactly.
And especially when it comes to grief, I feel like that just makes people uncomfortable. Like
Yes,
I feel like they need to say something,
yes.
but they don't. And like we talked about this, if you haven't been through it, like you just don't know.
Which is why what you're doing here, I think, is so important, and I know people will appreciate, because, like any other subject in school, we need to learn and talk and prepare for it, because it's the only thing that's guaranteed.
Yeah. I know your nephew was young, but just from hearing about him, like seeing his pictures and his videos, he had a very large personality, a very, you
Yes,
know,
he
to the
was full
point
of life.
Ava and him are the same age. So I can see Ava and I could see him and I'm like,
Yep.
um, though his life was short,
Mm,
what kind of impact is his life going to have going forward on you, on your family, on the world?
mm. Well, I think that I'm a person of faith. So coming from a perspective of faith, I think he has reminded me of God's presence for me. And he has reminded me of my relationship with God. And he has reminded my family, for sure, his parents as well, particularly, that there is strength in being able to admit when you do not have control,
Mhm.
and being okay with that, and practicing the areas where you do have control, and then giving in and submitting in the areas you don't. And that's hard to do. So that's one way. And through us, hopefully, he has certainly sparked in me the need to give those then a voice that don't have one, because he doesn't have one.
Right.
Like, what would he have wanted to learn in school? And as you know, I'm doing my YouTube channel as well, where I
Yeah.
ask folks about what would you want to learn in school. And though that's something I had wanted to start regardless, he pushed, what happened with him pushed me to really, expand that further, because he's not going to get to go to school. He's not going to
Mhm.
get to learn about, dinosaurs or um, the mitochondria. And he's not going to get to do suffer like we've all had to suffer.
Yeah.
In some ways, or enjoy in the way we've been able to enjoy. And then in terms of just raising awareness about, the toxins and the gas that did ultimately cause his passing in Pakistan, which is where it happened, and realizing that we here in the United States have such privilege and such benefits and access to healthcare, and though it's not perfect, of course, realizing that we are sitting in a place of such privilege, and to make sure we pay that privilege forward, whether that's through educating others, providing access to others, donating money, whatever that is. So that is all going to be in the name of Hassan, who's my nephew that passed. And then also, you know, keeping him alive with his brothers, and which we love and spend time with them regardless, but just making sure we keep talking about him, making sure we remember him. So we want all the goodness that we hope to spread in the world to be attached to his name, and to remember that it's him that's motivating us and pushing us. And
Yeah,
he just had a love of life. He was playful, he was angelic, he was very sweet. So just remembering his traits and carrying those forward as well.
that's nice. Um, Going back to what you started off with, saying that you are a person of faith,
Yes.
was there ever a time during this whole situation that you were just angry at God, whoever, where you're just like, listen, we're not on talking terms right now?
That's a fantastic question. No, no, there was never a moment where I was angry at God. I think, and again, because I'm a person of faith, I think only in the context of faith could I understand what's happened or try to make sense of what's happened. If I were not a person of faith, I think I would absolutely be angry and I would absolutely be frustrated. But because I'm relying on my faith to provide an explanation, in my book, in my world, he's in heaven. He's in
Mhm,
heaven, he's hanging out, he's having a good old time, he gets all the Spider-Man he wants up there, he gets all the chocolate he wants up there. And to me, that's actually, what else could you want for a loved one? To be hanging out in heaven, that's what I would ultimately want.
mhm.
But because he was only 3, I believe he's guaranteed to be up there. And in my world, the pain that we feel and his parents feel is our selfish attachment to him. And I don't mean selfish in a negative way at all. I just mean it's our human attachment to him. And
Yeah.
that's really what we're mourning and missing. So no, I was never angry at God. I am very I'm scared. I'm scared about my future. I have questions for God about that. I have questions for the why, how, not a why, but more like how, and what lessons am I supposed to take from this? Okay, what do you want us to learn from this? What do you want us to do as a result of this? It scares me in the sense of, and I don't mean to sound like depressing, but like it scares me because it reminds me that, oh my gosh, like we're gonna have to deal with this over and over again.
Mhm,
And it was the first time I've had to deal with it with a close family member. Of course, I've had, like grandparents and stuff pass away, but you're more mentally prepared for that type of thing. That's like the normal way of things. You're not
right.
planning for your 3-year-old nephew to pass away. So no, I don't think I was ever angry with God. It was more just, okay, I'm scared now because I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I don't know what to make of this. Some people who are supposed to be there are not. So you're starting to feel like you're mourning multiple losses.
Mhm.
Um, and that I had questions about of God. And I would be lying if I said have all these answers. I don't. But what I do know is they'll come when they're meant to come for me.
And I admire you for that, because
Thanks.
if I said I was at my friend's house last week, and I was talking with her parents and her mom, and she goes, God and Jesus are probably that's what's helping you get through this. And I said, not gonna lie, I'm kind of mad at them.
Totally understandable. Totally understandable.
Um, you know, I'm not really
Totally.
driving with them at the moment.
Right.
So it's
I think that's a very
yeah.
normal reaction.
So
I think
I
also that
admire you for seeing it from the other way.
thank you. But I also think, and it's never a comparison, but I also think the circumstances for your sister's loss, and she was also like older, I think it can lead to a different type of reaction too. I think this sounds, I don't know, this sounds so like whatever it sounds like. But because he was 3 and I feel like he's in heaven, that makes it easier for me to be like, okay, not okay, but like at least he gets that. If he were older, um, and I don't know if I believe like what I would believe, then I think I would definitely be like, what the heck? So just circumstance based as well. That's not to say I've never been mad at God about other stuff, because of course
Right.
I have.
But that's so interesting because I feel like for me it'd be the opposite. I said because he is 3, I would be fuming at God. Why
Mm,
take this innocent little baby who did
totally.
wrong in this world?
Yeah. No, I totally understand that. I think maybe because based on our faith,
Mhm.
and I think it's similar. Your in Christianity, that you basically, correct me if I'm wrong, please. You essentially are gonna have like the list of your deeds that you've done good and the list of the deeds that you've done that's not so good, and you're basically held accountable for the deeds that you've chosen to do in this life, and that only starts up to a certain age. So if you're younger than that age, you're basic. That's why you go straight to heaven.
Mhm.
So coming from that perspective, but
Right.
other than that, of course, also could also be a matter of just, this is going to sound also, I don't know how it's going to sound, but because I'm a teacher and being around students, I almost feel like I keep him alive through that as well. And my
Mhm.
students don't even realize the impact they've had on me and how much they've helped me heal. But like I'll have students who have helped, they've literally started writing a children's story because I shared with them some of the writing that I did for Hassan, and then they literally started illustrating pages of the book for me,
Aw.
like by hand. Exactly. And I had a student who came in and wore a Mickey Mouse shirt, and she said, I'm wearing this for Hassan because he loved Mickey Mouse. Like, just, I
And I
see
feel
some.
like that's a testimony to the kind of person that you are.
Well, I appreciate that, but I think that's just the kids. I just think I appreciate that, but that's just kids, and they give me hope and they
Yeah.
give me that love. And I think it's because I'm like, I also know that as much as God might have been the one to create the situations causing me this pain, I'm also seeing some really beautiful examples of people who are here to also help heal the pain.
Right.
And I'm trying to focus on that too.
I have no words. You're like you need to be like a motivational speaker and talk to people because you have like you make me feel better.
Good hug. I gave
And
you a
you're
hug.
so, you know,
You do the same for me by even caring to ask. You know better as much as I do how important it is just for people to ask.
yeah.
Doing that, and just by you saying like that you're angry or you're like what the heck, like you're saying that as if there's something wrong with that, and there's not. You have to give yourself grace and give yourself the space to feel whatever you're feeling, and there's no like you're not married to that emotion. It's just what you're feeling right now.
Right. Um and you said like your day to day hasn't changed. I know they were away for a few months, so you hadn't seen
Mm, yeah,
a few months
yeah.
prior. Do you think that was better for them to be away and you not being there when this happened or versus it happening and you had just seen them like the day before?
I have no idea. I don't know the answer that I don't know for that. I think what I can say about that is because they were away when it initially happened, it took it longer to hit me.
Right.
I can honestly say that I don't think it's really started to hit me till maybe a month ago. And like I was at the doctor's office actually. I've had a few doctor's appointments, and like I was um in the waiting room, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is probably what my brother and sister-in-law had to deal with day in and day out for days and days. And I feel extreme guilt that I was not present. And I feel like this huge thing happened to my family and I was not there physically. And I've had so many people, not so many people, the handful of people that I've spoken to say, it's absolutely not your fault. And absolutely, like my parents needed me here. Um, so selfishly, I would have loved to be there when it happened, but I do think ultimately it was probably easier in that I got a buffer period to like process it a little bit more
Mhm.
before they came back. And it just hits you at the randomest times, though. Like, I'm sure you experience the
The
same
other day
thing.
we got into work and you were like, "I just finished crying." I was like, "I just finished crying too."
Yeah, like it's
It
just
was just
random.
yeah,
Yeah, because I randomly think about him and think about like the people who won't get to know him or see his. And you know, it's interesting for me, and it's different for everyone. I'm sure. I miss like smelling his hair, and I miss like the touch of his. He had his little like chub in his arms. He had a very naughty smirk, and he couldn't say love. He would say yov, like I love you. So those types of things. But yeah, as far as being there versus here, so I think that's kind of how it happened. And even now I'm like slowly like, okay, it's hitting me slowly, especially because my brother and sister-in-law are just incredibly strong and tough, and really being there for the rest of their boys, and the boys are very tough, and being strong too. And I think just trying to, as I see that, it almost breaks your heart even more because it's just like they have to be.
yeah,
Yeah, they have to be. And so I think it's been there's no there's no best case scenario, I don't think, because if I were there, then my parents would have been here and then there was no support system there. So I think I was where I needed to be. And
right.
then I'm hoping that I'm going to be there for them now best I can.
When when you first found out the news, like the emotions, how were you able to control them? When people said to you, "You need to stay strong," like I want to slap people when they say that. You need to stay strong. I know, but like you continuously telling me that
Doesn't make it happen.
doesn't make it happen.
Yeah.
Was there anything that someone said to you when the initial,
Hmm.
tragedy happened?
Hmm.
Like, can you not say that?
um, Great question. I love these questions. So, first of all, when I got the news, I don't think I didn't process it. I went right into, what are you talking about? No, what? No. Like, no, and like they were so far away, and it was interesting because he had been unwell, like he was vomiting, so we thought like he ate something bad, food poisoning, very common. So like I had known he had been in the hospital. No way at that point did we think it was anything related to the fumigation or that he was going to pass away. That did not even cross my mind as an option. So
Yeah.
very much I was fully in like reaction mode. This is going to be like a very weird connection, but as teachers, and I'm sure you can understand this as well, we're so used to multiple things happening at once that you just go into like re like you just go into a mode of, okay, what's the protocol, what do I have to do? We're
Mhm.
used to like active shooter drills, and we're used to fire drills and evacuations. So like you're just used to, okay, you don't have a moment to like freak out. You just go, okay, what am I supposed to do?
Right.
That's the mode that I think I went into. Like, do I book a flight? Do I book a flight for my parents? Who do I need to call? Like you go into that kind of mode. So
Mhm.
that's what I was in. And I have to say I've been in that mode for some time until, as I said, like maybe a month or so ago, where it's really slowly starting to hit me more and more. And as far as what somebody said, I think the one thing I would advise people not to say, and I'm sure I've been very guilty of saying it to others at different phases in my life, is let me know if you need anything. That's the one phrase for me, because I'm like, I'm not gonna call you, and I'm very guilty of it, because I think it's different when it's like if you have the flu. I think if
Right.
you have COVID, if you just moved into your house, and I'm saying, hey, let me know if you need anything. That's different. But for something like this, no. I'm not gonna let you know. You just show up.
Right.
You should just send me what you want to send me, show up at my door. Don't say, let me know, like, or I'm here to talk. I love that. I appreciate that. And I get it. And I do not mean to sound ungrateful at all.
No, I
Because
was
I
the
know,
same way. What is okay, that's fine, but what does it do for me?
right. But also I get people like don't know what to say. So they're trying their best. And I get it when they're like, oh, I'm here. And I know that. And I do not take that for granted. But I it's great that you're here, but I need a if a person is watching this and they're looking to know what to do, well, just more. And I don't know what that more is. I wish I could tell you, but it's not. I'm not going to be the one to let you know. That's just not
Right.
how we're already so closed in right now. As much as to the outside world, we might seem normal and we're fine. We're
Hmm.
so closed off emotionally right now. I'm not going to let you know.
Yeah,
You have to ask.
I completely agree. The lady who I spoke with this morning, we said we should make a handbook of things not to say to someone who is grieving.
Correct. Correct.
That will be added to the list.
I agree.
um, is there anything that you did prior to Hassan's passing that was like fine, normal, and then looking back, like doing it now, just seems so foreign to you?
Ugh, I love this question so much. Um, can I say everything?
Mm.
um, not maybe not everything. Um, I think it's similar to what you've shared before about your family photos. I think seeing photos of their whole family, meaning the parents and the four boys, and now knowing that it's going to be three boys, when I go through the photos on my phone, it feels incomplete. It feels incomplete. Birthdays, I think birthdays, my birthday was heartbreaking and hard, and
Yeah,
so it seems incomplete. And not because of the day, but just there's a person missing.
yeah,
Um, and I think and this is not in a way that is meant to be sad, but like any gathering with my brother and his whole family, it's not sad, but it's foreign in that it's a new dynamic, and we have to get accustomed to the new dynamic.
right.
Because
Oh, I don't remember if I told you this, but you know, since my sister passed, I haven't worn anything but black. I've
Mhm,
yeah, all I've been wearing is black.
mhm.
Um, and last week, as you know, my friends put together a little birthday gathering for me, and I texted my friend. I said, I don't know if I want to wear black,
Right.
and she's like, do what you feel comfortable. So for the first time in over 4 months, I put on a pair of jeans and I wore a gray shirt. And people
How did it feel?
out, I started crying. I cried my eyes out for a good 5 minutes before leaving.
Mm,
And people looking in would be like, why are you crying? You're wearing a pair of jeans and a gray shirt.
yeah.
But the attachment to the black is so strong, and I feel so guilty not wearing it.
Right.
Um, that wearing color right now is like, who are you?
Yeah.
I love color. I have all colors in my closet. Like you know me, I love my makeup.
Hmm.
Even the thought of putting on a little makeup, like little eyeshadow, a little lipstick, is like,
Yeah.
hold on,
I
like
think
a little much right now.
I understand. I think it's a process for sure. And the only thing I can say to speak to that is when it first happened, I would say back maybe September-ish, there were a couple of birthdays um that I attended, and it that felt, and I love celebrating other people's birthdays. Like I'm all about it. And the first one that I attended, it felt a little bit like, are people gonna think like that I don't care about my nephew? Or are they gonna think I'm out here like celebrating life and I'm all unaffected? And then my birthday came around and my friends were gracious enough to, take me out as well. The same thing. I'm like, oh gosh, are they gonna sit here thinking, whatever they want to think? And then my other friend's birthday came around, and when I tell you, like I love dancing, so like the release, because it just so happened we ended up going out dancing. It was such a fun night, and I felt guilty, so guilty, because I'm like, here, my nephew just passed, not even, however long ago, and I'm out here dancing for my friend's birthday. I'm like, what kind of
Yeah,
aunt am I? And it took me a few of those thought processes and conversations to realize, who cares what other people are going to think? And generally, yes, I do believe in like presenting yourself a certain way or whatever it may be, but in this case, nobody gets to tell me. No one knows what's in
yeah,
my heart. And whether I'm happy in this moment, it doesn't ever take away from who who we're missing and how we're missing them. And in fact, I want to take him, in my case, along with me when I'm happy and celebrating, because he can't. He
Yeah.
doesn't get that opportunity. And so yeah, it's tough, but I totally understand that. And getting to a place of not caring what people might perceive us as. How many people are walking out there authentically acting like they feel?
Right.
I don't know, but we're not judging them either. So
Yeah.
you put on that makeup, girl.
Yes. It still feels very like
And that's okay. Yeah.
walk on eggshell kind of feel. But
Yep.
black, like today I'm wearing a black pair of pants and a light purple shirt.
Nope.
Like
Okay.
that's like baby steps.
Are
But
you afraid that by wearing it, like you're moving on? Like what is the guilt associated with for you?
like for black to me is just like a somber color.
Right?
Like you wear how you feel.
Okay, I see. So you want
And
right.
I feel like if I'm not wearing black, that means I'm not sad, but like that's complete opposite.
Correct.
Just feel like, in our culture, when someone, close passes, you wear black for a minimum of like 6 months.
Okay.
Um, when everything first happened, I told my parents, I was like, I'm not wearing black, the whole time, blah, blah, blah. And then I found myself not reaching for anything else besides black
Yeah.
because I just felt like,
That's how you felt.
yeah,
Yeah. So what's motivated you to wear a little more color then?
I don't know.
Okay.
I really don't know.
Okay.
I don't have the answer. I don't know.
Doesn't matter. You can wear any color. Doesn't mean you're not going to be sad.
Yeah. I mean, it's coming up. It was 4 months for your nephew. In a few days will be 4 months for her. Tomorrow will be 4 months for my best friend.
Yeah.
Just like just a lot of
Well,
emotions. And when people say, "How are you?" It's just easier to say, "I'm okay,"
so true.
because
How much time you got?
how I'm feeling. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
I really tell you how I'm feeling,
Yep.
it's gonna make you uncomfortable, and you're gonna be like, "Oh, I'm sorry," and then end of conversation.
Yep. Yep.
um,
Have you found like new people emerging into like your circle since this has happened?
I found that people have stepped up
Mm,
who I didn't think, who I was like friends with, but I didn't think they would have stepped up to the extent that they've stepped up to.
yeah. Yeah.
Um, like since this happened, no one new has come in.
Okay.
It's just been the same people. Just some have come up, some have, sadly gone down a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, and like you, I focusing on the people who have been there, and just makes you more appreciative of the people.
It does. And it doesn't mean that it doesn't hurt for the people that you want to be there for you. There's no
Yeah,
denying that there's people that you would want in your corner or people you thought it would be in your corner more. There's no denying that that's a desire or it's a very human thing. But I fully believe that things had to be shaken up this extremely in order for us to make certain moves, make certain changes for certain realities to become clear to us. I mean, what clearer time to look around you and see what's what than now, if people are not going to step up for this,
yeah,
that says a lot about their character,
hmm,
and that's okay.
yeah,
That's a judgment. It's just, is that the character you want to be around?
right. The first time I met my therapist, once when all this happened, he said to me, he goes, "I think you've always had a drive inside of you.
Hmm.
Like, find a different job, try to move out, do X, Y, and Z." He goes, "I think the passing of your sister and your friend just intensified
Yep.
your need to want to do these things because you see now like your life is not guaranteed.
Correct.
5 minutes from now isn't guaranteed."
Life is finite. Yes.
Yeah. And that's been like in my mind.
It's so true. I think
That's
there's
like
things
2 months.
yeah, it's so true. I don't think there's any way I would have been shaken to like get up and do certain things, even if it's just thinking about it. Um, had this not happened, there's no way. It had
Yeah.
to have happened this way. Otherwise, there's no other way for certain changes to have taken place.
Yeah. And it's everything about this journey is like bittersweet
Yes.
because
Yes. It seems like a very
why
high
it happened sucked, but like some of the outcome is like, okay, it's just like such a fine line. It, you just don't, I don't know.
it's a very high cost for the lessons that are being shown, it feels like.
Yeah. I mean, like
Yeah.
you, like me, I'm sure you're the same way. I'd rather have my loved one back than, I'm very appreciative that I'm doing this channel and having these conversations, but
You'd
no,
rather have your
have
sister
my sister
here.
back
Of course.
than, have these have these
Yeah.
cats.
Of course. It almost seems like we're in some ways we have to force certain things because we're also looking for ways to heal, and any ounce of comfort we find, whether that's in a conversation or in a workout or in a painting session, whatever one finds comfort in, we're going to keep seeking that out, but it's forced and it stinks because we have to seek it out because of what happened, and that's horrible.
Yeah. I was talking to my dad and I was like, oh, I have another interview later. And he goes, I wouldn't be able to do it because I wouldn't want to be depressed every time I watched the video. I said,
Mhm.
it's that's the point of these videos is to help people, which my hope for these videos. And I said, he goes, well, you need help yourself. I said, I'm hoping that in these videos, they also help me.
Absolutely. It's going to be therapeutic for all involved, and it is depressing. That's okay.
Yeah,
It's depressing. I think the
because
reason I value what you're doing so much is because it's interesting, because you would think that when you're depressed or sad, that's when people will like, circle around you. At least that's what the movies show. But nobody likes to be around that for an extended period of time. They like it when you're happy, and they like it when you're positive, and they like it when, because you know what? Because that doesn't challenge their understanding of their normal.
right,
If you are out of character, or whatever the character it is that they have labeled you as, or whatever part you play in their life, if you step out of that character for them, then that makes them uncomfortable, because that makes them question their understanding of their own life. And
right,
nobody wants that. And that's not their fault. I've done that. You've done that. We all do that.
yeah,
But there's no way around. It is sad. I watched the other videos, and I had to, in full transparency, I had to pause in between and take it in chunks because it was upsetting me. But that's okay. I didn't stop watching. I
yeah,
just had to like monitor how I was processing, because ultimately it really helped me. There were moments of what both of the women you interviewed, who I believe you don't know, you met through social media,
mhm,
um, just things that they said that just resonated with me so much, that could only come from someone who's been through something like this. So you are helping. Please know that.
thank you.
Yeah.
Um, before we sign off, is there the memory of your nephew? What is your favorite memory that's going to keep you going? I know there's so many. His Spider-Man, his
Yeah.
Cheetos, which I can't believe he likes. So I took a bite and I was like, sip
Flaming
some
hot.
water for each chip.
He loves flaming hot Cheetos. Favorite memory? This is a great question.
Like when you talk about him, you're gonna be like, this story or this memory. This is
Yeah, I'm gonna take a second to think about this because I think it's important.
take your time.
Hmm. So my there were four boys. The elder two boys, they lived in the same house as me when they were growing up. So like I'm talking change their diapers, you name it. I experienced it with them, going shopping, watching movies, hanging out in my room, playing board games, video games, whatever it was, right? I had a different type of relationship with them because they lived with me in the same house. Whereas Hassan, by the time he was born, my brother and sister-in-law were in their own homes. So we were still very close, saw them all the time, but like it was a little bit different, and it took a little more effort on my part to bond with him
Mhm.
because he wasn't just in my home. And there was that separation. Uh, so there was this one day where all the boys were in my room. We had a movie on, and Hassan was running around because he was probably 2 at that time. He was running around, and I'd given him some stuffed animals to like distract him. And I was sitting on the chair. The other 2 boys were on my bed. They were watching whatever they were watching. I probably have it on video somewhere. And Hassan was not somebody you could easily put to sleep, but he somehow I got him to sit on my lap, and we were watching the movie, and like I was tickling him and we were playing, and I was trying to like kind of keep him contained. Excuse me. And then we're watching the movie, and I notice like after some time he's not really being fidgety, and I turn and his head is like plopped over, like he fell asleep like in my arms.
Mhm.
And I don't know how to explain that sense of like accomplishment, that when you get a child to trust you so much that they can just fall asleep in your arms.
Mhm.
That's a memory I always take with me because it was the full circle. Like I was like tickling him, we were playing, and then he finally like came and calmed down, and he just fell asleep in my arm. And I remember smelling his hair, and I remember massaging his arms. That's one. And another one similarly is I was at his house, and I was putting him to bed, and I was just like this was for like a nap or something. I was just like massaging his hair for him and like patting him on the back. And again, just him falling asleep. Because to me, again, there's no that's like the ultimate sign of a child trusting you.
Mhm.
Especially when they're that young and trying to sleep because they usually want their mom. And so that's something I remember about him and will I always think about because I feel like he was the child, but he helped me feel accomplished and feel like he loved like unconditional love, you know?
Yeah,
That's what I remember.
it's beautiful. Well, my friend, I'm always sending you hugs and love and
Sure. Always right back at you.
all the beautiful things.
We're gonna go through this together, my friend.
Yeah. Thank you so much for chatting,
You're very, very welcome.
for
And
introducing the Hassan to the world.
absolutely, I hope to continue doing that.
If you ever want to come back and chat, you know where we are.
Always. That sounds like a plan.
All right.
I look forward to seeing the final edit.
You got it.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.